Before we begin, we want to acknowledge that Down the Crooked Path is researched and recorded in Niagara Falls, Ontario, on the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabe, and the Attawandaron, and the Mississauga of Credit First. This land has been home to Indigenous peoples for thousands of years, and we recognize their enduring connection. We are grateful to share these stories on their lands that carry their histories, and we encourage our listeners to reflect on the past, present, and future of the land they call home. Welcome, wanderers, to Journey Down the Crooked Path, a place where the stories are stranger, the shadows stretch longer, and the things that go bump in the night might just be listening. I'm Amanda Joy, your guide into the eerie, the forgotten, and the downright bizarre. Here, we step off the well-lit roads of Canadian Creepies and venture into the murky corners of history, folklore, and the unexplained, where the whispers grow louder and the truth is never quite what it seems. So let's take a deep breath, watch your step, and whatever you do, don't look back. Once you start down the crooked path, you never know what might follow. When French Canadians crossed the Atlantic and brought their traditions to the wilds of Canada, they carried more than just their belongings. They brought their stories. Among these tales were accounts of mischievous spirits, the lutins, who thrived on causing chaos or offering blessings, depending on their moods. Over time, in the dense forests and remote villages of Quebec, these legends grew roots of their own, adapting to the new land and its people. Picture this. You're alone in a quiet stillness of the countryside, the wind whistling through the trees, the air thick with the scent of pine, and the only sound is the soft rustling of leaves and the distant call of an owl. But then you hear something else, something faint but deliberate. A shadow flickers on the edge of your vision, and you're left wondering, was it just your imagination? Or was it something more? These tales, born from fear, wonder, and imagination, have been passed down through generations. They speak of forces that lurk just out of sight, playful, helpful, or perhaps something darker. Whatever they are, they have left a permanent mark on French Canadian folklore, capturing the imagination and curiosity of those who hear them. But what keeps these tales alive? Why, in an age of reason and science, do these stories of the lutins still linger, passed down through generations? Perhaps it's because these small mischievous spirits remind us of the mystery that still exists in the everyday. The rustle in the trees, the shadow in the corner of your vision, the unexplained mischief that makes us question the world around us. Today we step into the world of myth and mischief, tracing the legacy of the lutin and unraveling their place in folklore of French Canadian. Lutins, mischievous goblins of the French Canadian folklore, trace their origins back from tale and tradition of French settlers who arrived in the New World. In France, lutins were known as small tricksters, spirits often associated with luck or mischief. As settlers adapted to the challenging terrain and remote villages of Canada, the legends of lutin evolved to mirror their new environments. Lutins became integral figures in rural life, representing the concerns and aspirations of settlers as they navigated the complexities of their surroundings, being entities that could bring either fortune or disorder. Unlike their European counterparts, who were often portrayed as outright malevolent, lutins struck a balance between whimsy and menace. Their playful nature became a cornerstone of their identity, as they engage in lighthearted pranks such as hiding belongings, moving objects, or misleading travelers in the woods. Yet their antics are not without purpose. They serve as subtle warnings about respect, humanity, and coexisting with the world around us. This moral undertone distinguishes lutins from the more sinister depictions of goblins from other traditions. Lutins are also known for their ability to shapeshift, shifting effortlessly between their humanoid forms and the guise of animals or even inanimate objects. In their humanoid forms, lutins are described as small, agile creatures with sharp features and bright, mischievous eyes. Those sightings were rare and fleeting. However, their ability to transform into animals is what truly sets them apart. This skill allows them to observe humans unnoticed, interact with the natural world, and play tricks on unexpected individuals. Perhaps the most iconic form of lutins is the black cat, often seen as a protector or a harbinger of mischief. In French-Canadian folklore, a black cat lutin might guard a household, ensuring its safety and prosperity. However, if mistreated, it could become a source of chaos, hiding objects or causing minor accidents. Unlike the negative connotation of black cats in other cultures, here they are viewed as a mix of reverence and caution. While black cats are often seen as protectors and mischievous creatures, white cats are believed to embody purity and wisdom. Their presence is often interpreted as a sign of guidance or a harbinger of important events. In some tales, white cat lutins might appear to warn someone of impending danger or to offer subtle assistance after a challenging time. One tale of a family adopting a stray black cat that had appeared on their doorstep. The cat seemed ordinary at first, but strange things started to happen in the household. Items would go missing, doors would creak open on their own, and the family's youngest child claimed that the cat spoke to her in whispers. One day, the family accidentally spilled water on the cat, and it transformed into a small, impish figure, a lutin. The lutin admitted that it had been playing tricks on them, but promised to stop if they treated it kindly. And from then on, the family left out offerings, and the lutin became a protective presence in their home. Lutins often take the form as birds as well, particularly small, colorful ones like sparrows or robins or even cardinals. In this guise, they are seen as messengers or observers, watching over households or delivering subtle warnings. Their presence is often interpreted as a sign of change or a reminder to pay attention to one's surroundings. Taking the forms of dogs can also be seen as loyalty and protection. They might guide lost travelers through the wilderness or guard children from harm. However, their playful side can emerge, leading them to steal food or play tricks on their humans. A traveler once recounted being followed by a small, scruffy dog while lost in the woods. The dog led him safely to a nearby village, but then disappeared soon after they arrived, and the villagers believe it was a lutin, ensuring that the traveler had safety. In some tales, lutin transforms into horses, often saddled and ready to ride. These forms are most common in European versions of the folklore, but have occasionally appeared in French-Canadian stories. A horse lutin might offer a ride to a weary traveler, but could vanish mid-journey, leaving the rider bewildered. Rabbits are another common form, symbolizing agility and cleverness. A rabbit lutin might lead hunters on a wild chase, only to disappear just as they think they've been caught. This form emphasizes the lutin's playful and elusive nature. A hunter once pursued a white rabbit deep into the woods, determined to catch it. No matter how fast he ran or how carefully he aimed, the rabbit always stayed just out of reach. Eventually, the hunter realized he was hopelessly lost. He sat down to rest, and the rabbit reappeared and led him back to the forest's edge before vanishing. The hunter, humbled by this experience, believed that the rabbit was a lutin, teaching him a lesson about respecting the wilderness and not taking more than what he needed. The forms that lutin chooses are not arbitrary. They reflect their intentions and the lessons that they wish to impart. A protective lutin might appear as a loyal dog, while a mischievous one might take the form of a sly rabbit. Their shapeshifting abilities also highlight their connection to nature and their role as intermediaries between human and the natural world. Lutins aren't just mischievous spirits. They were like quiet, unseen house guests who could either make your life much easier or a whole lot harder. In French-Canadian households, the belief was that lutins have their own sets of rules. Treat them well, and you might get rewarded. But cross them, well, let's just say you'd regret it. So how did lutins rule households? For one, they were fiercely protective guardians of the household, the children, the animals, and even the crops. If you made an effort to acknowledge them, maybe by leaving out a small offering like food scraps or shiny trinkets, you'd stay on their good side. And when a lutin liked you, you knew it. Your farm animals would stay healthy, your crops would flourish, and every so often, you'd notice tiny tasks mysteriously taken care of. Maybe the animals were fed before you woke up, or a broken tool suddenly worked again. Lutins didn't need to announce that they helped, they just did it. But here's the catch. Lutins had their limits. They didn't take kindly to neglect or disrespect. Forget to leave them an offering. They might hide your tools or scatter your belongings. Treat an animal cruelly. An animal that just might be a lutin in disguise. And the consequences would escalate. Stories of households where disrespecting lutins led to sick livestock, spoiled crops, or even strange accidents. A lutin's punishment wasn't just about mischief, it was a lesson. A reminder to be more mindful and respectful in your daily life. One well-known tale tells of a farmer who struggled to keep his livestock healthy during a particularly harsh winter. One morning, he woke up to find his barn mysteriously cleaned, his animals fed, and all of his tools repaired. This continued for weeks, and the farmer realized he had a lutin watching over his farm. To show his gratitude, he left out a bowl of cream and some shiny trinkets each night. The lutin, pleased with the offerings, ensured the farm thrived. However, when the farmer's neighbor mocked the idea of lutins and refused to leave offerings, his own farm fell into disrepair, the tools breaking and animals falling ill. The story serves as a reminder of the importance of gratitude and respect for unseen helpers. You see, lutins didn't just play tricks for fun. They carried moral lessons. A lot of their stories taught the importance of respect for others, for the home, for the natural world. They reminded people to coexist with nature, to treat animals with kindness, and to tread carefully in the wilderness. For example, hunters who were true greedy might find themselves led astray in the forest by a lutin disguised as a rabbit. The message: respect the forest or it will turn against you. In a darker tale, a lutin disguised as a bird lived in a small village. The villagers often left it offerings, believing that it brought them good fortune. However, one day, a young boy threw stones at the bird, injuring it. That night, the village was plagued by strange occurrences. Livestock went missing, tools broke, and food spoiled. The villagers, realizing that the bird was a lutin, they made amends by leaving it extra offerings and teaching the boy to respect all creatures. The lutin eventually forgave them and peace was restored. In many ways, lutins helped shape how families interacted with their environment. Parents would use lutins as cautionary tales, lessons to teach their children, reminding them to care for animals, stay respectful of nature, and tread carefully in the wilderness. These stories carried morals about humanity and gratitude, and they symbolized a delicate balance between humans, their homes, and the forces of the unseen. But while these tales were whispered in homes and shared at the hearth, it was writers like Honor Beaugrand who ensured their preservation, recording them for future generations. Beaugrand was a prominent English-French-Canadian writer, journalist, and folklorist who wrote in the late 19th century and early 20th century, and he left an indelible mark on the preservation of Quebec's cultural heritage. Born March 24th, 1884, in St. Joseph de Lorraine, Lower Canada, now Quebec, Beaugrand grew up in a family deeply connected to the nationalist movement for a long time. His father, Louis, supported the Patriots' Rebellion of 1837-1838, which likely influenced Horner's later liberal and progressive views. Beaugrand's early life was marked by a sense of adventure and thirst for knowledge. after attending College Joliette and briefly joining the Clerics of Saint Frotter, he left Canada at the age of 17 to pursue a military career. He joined the French Army of Mexico, fighting under the Emperor Maximilian during the ill-fated Second Mexican Empire. Following the fall of Maximilian in 1867, Beauregard returned to France before embarking on a series of travels that took him to the United States and Mexico, where he worked in various trades and began his career as a journalist. His journalistic endeavors flourished in the United States, where he founded and contributed to several magazines, including École du Canada, La République, this is where my French sucks. Including École du Canada and La République. I just got tongue-tied. These publications often address the struggles of Franco-American communities, reflecting Beauregard's commitment to cultural preservation and social justice. His liberal views included free-thinking stance and support for the Freemasonries. This was evident in his writing and his public life. In 1878, Beauregard returned to Canada and established La Patrie, a Montreal-based newspaper that became a significant platform for his political and cultural ideas. His career in journalism was complemented by his foray into politics. He served as the mayor of Montreal in 1885 to 1887, during which he faced challenges of smallpox epidemic and the tension surrounding vaccination efforts. Beauregard's literary contributions, perhaps, are his most lasting legacy. He is best known for his collection of French-Canadian folk tales, Le Chasse-Galerie, Légendes Canadiennes, in 1891. This included the iconic stories of the Flying Canoe, a tale rooted in Quebecois folklore, tells of a group of lumberjacks who make a pact with the devil to fly their canoe home for New Year's Eve, only to face dire consequences. The collection also features other supernatural narratives, such as La Groupois, the werewolf, or the big-tailed beast. But beyond lutins, Beauregard's accounts spanned a variety of ghostly encounters, legendary creatures and mysterious phenomenon, creating a vivid picture of beliefs and fears that shaped the lives of early settlers. His work not only preserved these stories, but also gave them a new platform, allowing them to be celebrated and studied as an essential part of French-Canadian heritage. Through his writing, Beauregard brought to life these lutins' eccentric personalities, their playful nature, their capacity for both protection and punishment, and their deep connection to the wilderness. His tales often reflected the values of rural French-Canadian communities, where folklore served as a bridge between the known and the unknown, offering explanations for the unexplained and lessons for those who were willing to listen. The connection to folklore illustrates how deeply figures like lutins were embedded in French-Canadian life. Lutins weren't just whimsical creatures. They symbolized a broader relationship between humans and supernatural forces around them. In rural communities, belief in such beings helped a natural understanding of the delicate balance between nature, morality, and human behavior. The cultural significance of lutins aligns with other fae-like figures in Quebec folklore, such as the enchanting Fairy of Les Dorlines. Just as lutins were seen as protectors of homes and guardians, but with moral conduct, the fairy is said to protect the natural beauty and harmony of her island. Legend has it that she would assist those in need, guiding them with her wisdom and grace. But she would also punish those who disrespected the land and its creatures. Her tales echo the lessons of humanity and respect that the lutins impart, showing that these supernatural beings mirrored their values and communities. These figures, though distinct, share a common thread. They serve as a symbol of unseen forces that shape daily life. Through their actions, they encouraged a caution of wilderness, gratitude for the gifts of the earth, and an understanding of humanity's place within the natural world. Together, They remind us that folklore is not just a reflection of the unknown, but a lens through which we explore our fears, values, and aspirations. By preserving these stories, Hanno Bogrand ensured that the future generations could continue to learn from their wisdom and marvel at their mystery, keeping the spirit of Quebec's folklore alive. Living in an era where oral tradition is at risk of fading, Bogrand's work became a vital archive for preserving these stories and other supernatural beings. His dedication allowed these tales to transcend their oral origins to written form, ensuring that they wouldn't be lost to time. But what about today? Have these mischievous spirits and their stories disappeared into the pages of history, or do they still find relevance in modern life? Well, lutins haven't been forgotten. While traditional tales of lutins may have shifted from their original oral storytelling roots, these mischievous spirits continue to thrive in modern interpretations across French-speaking regions of Canada. Their playful antics and their moral lessons have found new life in media, literature, and cultural festivals, ensuring that their legacy endures in fresh and engaging ways. In literature, lutins often appear in children's books, where their mischievous nature is reimagined to entertain and educate younger audiences. These stories highlight their playful tricks while weaving in lessons about kindness, respect, and gratitude. Fantasy novels for older readers also incorporate lutins, blending their folklore origins with broader narratives that explore themes of morality and the supernatural. Media has also embraced lutins, with animated series and films including them in new audiences. These adaptations often portray lutins as whimsical, endearing characters, making them accessible to viewers unfamiliar with their folklore and roots. Their shape-shifting abilities and mischievous personalities lend themselves well to visual storytelling, captivating the imaginations of audiences across generations. Festivals celebrating French-Canadian cultures frequently include nods to lutins and other mythical beings. Events like Saint Jean-Baptiste Day and smaller localized folklore festivals feature storytelling sessions, theatrical performances, and art exhibits that bring these tales to life. These celebrations not only honor the region's heritage, but also provide a platform for communities to connect with their shared stories and history. Even today, lutins hold cultural significance in some households, particularly in rural areas or families with strong ties to traditions. These stories are still shared as bedtime tales or during festive gatherings, keeping oral tradition alive. For others, lutins are encountered through books, films, and festivals, serving as a bridge to folklore of earlier generations. Though these modern interpretations, lutins continue to enchant and educate, reminding us of timeless allure of folklore and folktale, and its ability to evolve while preserving its essence. Even as we explore modern interpretations as lutins, there is something timeless about these mischievous spirits. Imagine yourself sitting by a crackling fire on a cool autumn night, the shadows flickering on the wall, outside the wind rustles the leaves, and a faint howl in the distance of wolves sends shivers down your spine. Stories come to life in moments like these. Tales of shape-shifting goblins and their playful, sometimes unsettling tricks. Or perhaps it's a quiet evening and you notice a black cat perched on your windowsill, its eyes gleaming in the moonlight. Is it a simple stray? Or is it something more? In the silence, the air feels thick with possibility, as if these old tales are whispering just beneath the surface. There is a power of storytelling. It pulls us into the realm of the unknown, urging us to wonder and imagine. So whether it's through the pages of a book, a festival celebration, or a fireside tale, lutins remind us to keep an eye on the shadows, to listen for the rustle in the trees, and to never underestimate the magic that lingers in the world around us.
That was an eerie journey down the crooked path with Amanda. How cool was that? If you loved it, don't forget to follow Down the Crooked Path on Instagram and TikTok. Amanda shares some really fun interactive content over there, and trust me, it gets even creepier. Down the Crooked Path is our sister podcast, and you can catch new episodes every Thursday wherever you get your podcasts. So if you're into the paranormal, folklore, and strange little corners of the world, we've got you covered.